from a little girl in Italy to one of the last surviving A-listers from the golden age of Hollywood, Sophia Loren has managed to conquer international audiences for decades. Here's how she did it and why she's an icon. Sophia was born in 1934 in a ward for single mothers in Rome, Italy, as her parents, Romilda and Riccardo, were unwed. Riccardo hadn't necessarily planned for things to go this far, and his mother, who was of noble descent, was even more against this union, despite the fact that Sophia was named after her. Realizing Riccardo wasn't doing anything to help them, Romilda took her daughter and left for Pozzuoli, a small town near Naples, to live with her own mother. Previously, when she was 17, Romilda had won an MGM contest held in Italy thanks to her resemblance to Greta Garbo. The prize meant that Romilda was set to go to Hollywood and become a star, but her parents wouldn't hear of it, not wanting to let their daughter go on another continent at that age, especially in a place like Hollywood. They were also afraid of the Black Hand, an Italian extortion racket, who they were convinced played a part in the death of Rudolph Valentino. Despite Riccardo not being willing to wed or at least help them, Romilda continued an on-and-off relationship with him, which in 1938 led to the birth of another daughter, Maria. He had accepted to give Sophia his last name, Ciccolone, but he wasn't willing to do so for his new daughter, and he would have little to no contact with them till his death in 1976. But things were about to get much worse, as in June of 1940, when Sophia was still 5 years old, Italy decided to enter World War II. Food and other essentials became harder and harder to find. In 1943, the Allies began bombing Italy, with Pozzuoli being an important target due to the presence of the harbor and munitions plants. Any resemblance of a normal life had stopped. When the air raid sirens would start with a terrible sound, everybody would go and hide in the train tunnel for safety. They would spend the night crowded in the tunnel, infected with rats and spiders, until around 4:30 a.m. when they'd have to leave before the trains would start their schedule again. The little food Sophia's family had was now gone. They would move to some relatives of Sophia's grandma, although they weren't exactly received with enthusiasm. By then, Sophia was terribly skinny and her sister had typhus. Romilda had to start begging for food in order to keep her daughters alive. In September 1945, after 6 years, the war was finally over and Sophia returned to Pozzuoli with her family. The building in which they lived had been affected by the bombing. Now, Moroccan troops, commanded by a French officer, were stationed there and partied all night, creating disturbances. Sophia's mother started singing, and they would later open a pub in the living room to help them stay afloat. The cinema also reopened, and Sophia would fall in love with movies such as Blood and Sand with Tyrone Powell and Rita Hayworth, or Duel in the Sun with Jennifer Jones and Gregory Peck. It was an escape from the name-calling she had to endure from other kids who called her Toothpick because she was so incredibly skinny and not very pretty. But soon, almost overnight, the ugly duckling became a swan, tall and gorgeous. She started entering beauty pageants and very often occupied the second place because, although good-looking, she wasn't considered a classical beauty. The Queen of the Sea beauty pageant would mark an important step for Sophia. Although she was again the runner-up, she won, among other things, a ticket to Rome. Her mom took a chance, and they left together for the Eternal City. They met with Sophia's father, who in the meantime had gotten married and very much tried to convince the two to stop chasing any dreams of glory and return home. Fortunately, they did not listen, and the next day they managed to become extras in the epic film Quo Vadis, the one that would go on to star the Hollywood on Tiber period, when Rome became a huge filming attraction for Hollywood. Among the films that define this era, highlights include Roman Holiday, The Barefoot Contessa, Ben-Hur, and Cleopatra. But while struggling to make ends meet, Sophia would discover fame anyway via photo romance magazines or fumetti. They were simple stories of love and betrayal, jealousy, not necessarily deep, but ideal for a nation that had just experienced the horrors of war. Stefano Rada, the director of Sogno, one of the most popular fumetti, changed Sofia's name from Sofia Ciccolone to Sofia Lazzaro because her quote-unquote, her beauty could raise the dead. Sophia enjoyed immense success in the industry, becoming one of its most popular stars. She would stop appearing in them in 1953 once her movie career took off more. In 1950 and 1951, she would appear in several movies as an unbilled extra, including Bluebeard's Six Wives and Toto Tarzan, both of them starring the legendary Toto. Another notable film would be Variety Lights, Federico Fellini's directorial debut. It wouldn't be until over a dozen films since her debut that she'd have her first line in the movie Anna. In the meantime, she continued her pageant career, including the Miss Italia, one where she got to the final and won the title of Miss Elegance. One night, while out with friends at Calle Oppio, where a beauty pageant was taking place, Sophia received an anonymous note encouraging her to enter the contest. She wasn't keen on doing it, but after a second note arrived, signed Carlo Ponti, the movie producer, she accepted. He was then 39, meaning 22 years more than her. He was also married and had 2 kids. The two hung out after the contest, and he invited her for a screen test. Sadly, the test went horrible. Her face was too short, her mouth was too big, the nose was too long. After multiple failed attempts, someone finally suggested to change the orientation of the lights, and the problem of her nose's shadow was solved. Another notable film of her early career is Hearts at Sea, as it was the first film in which both Sophia and Marcello Mastroianni appeared together, although Sophia only acted as an uncredited extra. Together, they appeared in 14 movies together. In 1952, after a dozen movies, she received on-screen credit for the very first time in the film The Piano Tuner Has Arrived. Shortly after, she would get her first leading role in La Favorita. Just a year later, she would appear on the US poster of the film Girls Marked Danger and have her biggest role yet in the musical Aida. The New York Times praised her performance, but more importantly, with this money, she was able to buy her sister their family name from their father. Also, in 1953, Carlo changed Sofia's stage name from Sophia Lazzaro to Sophia Loren, based on the name of Swedish actress Marta Thoren. She would be billed for the first time under this new name in the film Woman of the Red Sea. In 1954, Time magazine wrote an article about the up-and-coming Italian actresses, including Sophia, and explained their growing popularity in the US as, quote-unquote, they are offering a kind of beauty new to the US eye, an earth-heavy Italian beauty as rich as roses in an olive dusk. The same year, she would have her first iconic moment in The Gold of Naples, as everybody went crazy about her walk down the street. This also marked the first collaboration with her favorite director, Vittorio De Sica. She also appeared in the film Attila with Anthony Quinn, which was a box office success, and in The Rebel Girl, which was created by Carlo specifically for her. 1955 was quite a year for Sophia. Not only did she and Marcello Mastroianni make their first film together as leads, alongside Vittorio De Sica, but she also appeared in the second movie in the Pane Amore e trilogy, titled Scandal in Sorrento, replacing Gina Lollobrigida. She was also the most photographed person at the Cannes Film Festival. All this time, Hollywood was paying attention, and at Carlo's advice, Sophia started taking English lessons. And indeed, in 1957, she would go on to appear in her first Hollywood production, Boy on a Dolphin, followed by The Pride and the Passion with Cary Grant and Frank Sinatra. The film received mixed reviews and lost money at the box office due to its high production costs. But what makes this film important even more is the fact that this is where she met Cary Grant, who, when introduced, quipped, "Miss Loren, I presume, or is it Miss Lorgenijida?" The two began developing feelings for each other. Cary was so in love with Sophia that he arranged later for her to star in the film Houseboat, film in which she was supposed to co-star with his own wife. Meanwhile, Sophia had her own reservations. Was she in love with Cary Grant the person or the charismatic silver screen persona? Back home, Carlo was waiting for her, despite her mother not approving of their relationship. In the end, Sophia realized she truly loved Carlo. Nevertheless, Sophia and Cary would remain friends despite her refusing his marriage proposal. During the filming of the movie Legend of the Lost, co-starring John Wayne, the gas stove in the hotel she was staying started emanating fumes and she began asphyxiating. She managed to crawl to the door and open it, being saved by her co-star Rossano Brazzi. Meanwhile, Hollywood couldn't ignore the Italian star anymore, and Paramount would go on to offer her a 5-movie contract. Sophia moved to LA, where she would later confess she didn't quite manage to adapt to because of its superficiality. Her first film for Paramount was Desire Under the Elms, which was panned by critics and wasn't a box office success. The next film, The Black Orchid, again proved to be unpopular, although she would win the Best Actress award at the Venice Film Festival. Houseboat with Cary Grant did a bit better, but it was still not a success, while That Kind of Woman also didn't receive favorable reviews and didn't make a profit. Sophia's last film under the contract was It Started in Naples with Clark Gable. The reviews were mixed, and again, it didn't make a lot of money at the box office. The film is notable for Sophia's performance of the song Tuvo fa l'americano. With the film being made in Rome, Capri, and Napoli, and her Paramount contract over, Sophia decided to return to act in Europe. In 1957, Sophia and Carlo married by proxy in Mexico. Finally, her dream of having a family could come true. But not for now. Conservative groups in Italy and the Vatican instantly condemned the marriage, and the whole press turned against them, accusing them of bigamy. In fact, in 1962, the couple had their marriage annulled due to actual legal charges of bigamy. In 1960, she appeared in The Millionaires with Peter Sellers and recorded a song together, Goodness Gracious Me, which was a UK top 5 hit. The movie was also very popular at the British box office. But the cream of the crop would turn out to be the last film she released in 1960, Two Women. Sophia deglamed completely as she transformed in a woman trying to protect her daughter from the horrors of World War II, a story all too familiar for Sophia. The film was a box office success worldwide and won Sophia the Best Actress award at the BAFTAs, at Cannes, David di Donatello, and at the Academy Awards. It became the first time a non-English language performance received the honor. She followed this with another box office hit, El Cid, for which she received a salary of $1 million, and later Boccaccio 70. In 1963, she started with Marcello in De Sicas Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, famous for its striptease scene. It was an overall success and won the Oscar for Best Foreign Film. In 1964, she appeared in another American production, The Fall of the Roman Empire, which bombed at the box office and didn't impress critics. But her fortunes would turn with her next release, another collaboration with De Sica and Marcello, Marriage Italian Style. A box office success, it also gave Sophia her second Oscar nomination, while the film was also nominated for Best Foreign Language Film. The next year, a solution for Sophia and Carlo's problem was finally discovered. It was actually Juliana, the wife of Carlo, who worked as a lawyer, that came up with the idea. The three of them would move to France, where divorce was legal. Sophia and Carlo received citizenship in 1965 thanks to their work in the arts. Carlo and Juliana divorced, and in April 1966, Carlo and Sophia finally married legally. That year, she released two films. The first one, Judith, was not a success, and because the movie was about the 1948 Palestine War, her movies would be banned in Arab or Muslim countries. Ironically, the other movie was titled Arabesque, which received mixed reviews. During that time, Sophia was trying to become pregnant, but suffered at least 2 miscarriages due to hormone problems. All doctors told her it would be impossible for her to have biological children, which was a big blow for Sophia, who always dreamt of having a family. While filming Ghosts Italian style, she discovered she was pregnant again. Thanks to a Swiss doctor who knew what to do, mostly bed rest with as little activity as possible, in December 1968, Carlo Ponti Jr. was born. In 1970, she released 2 movies with Marcello, the drama Sunflower, which won her a David di Donatello Award, and the comedy The Priest's Wife. While filming Man of La Mancha, Sophia discovered she was pregnant again. Following the same steps as before, she gave birth to Eduardo in January of 1973. The next year, she would return to the screen in the film The Voyage, her last work with De Sica, who would pass away that year. Her partner from this movie, Richard Burton, would become a good friend of Sophia's, and they would go on to appear in the remake of Brief Encounter the same year, Sophia's first television film. In 1975, she and Carlo moved from Italy after 2 attempted kidnaps aimed at him. The next year, her father died. In 1976, she appeared in a disaster movie, The Cassandra Crossing, a genre popular in the era. In 1977, Sophia and Marcello reunited again for what may be their best film, A Special Day. It received attention at the Oscars, César, and Golden Globes, while Sophia won another Di Donatello Award for Best Actress. In 1980, she took a daring task by portraying both herself and her mother in Sophia Loren, Her Own Story. Romilda was upset at how she was presented in the film, considering she was shown as just a peasant, but Sophia aimed for quote-unquote a poor woman with great dignity. The two would reconcile shortly. Around this time, Sophia decided to focus more on her family life, so her movie appearances decreased. More notably, during the 80s was the film Aurora, in which her son Eduardo played her son. But before that, Sophia suffered a huge trauma. Accused of tax evasion, she had 2 options: continue to live abroad or return to Italy and go to prison. Refusing to not see her mother, family, country, and its people ever again, Sophia traveled to Italy, where she would spend 18 days in prison, a traumatic event. Yet this didn't diminish her popularity. In fact, Italians loved her even more for choosing to go to jail instead of never seeing the country ever again. Over 30 years since she was arrested, in 2013, the Supreme Court of Italy cleared her of all charges, declaring her innocent. In 1991, she received an honorary Lifetime Achievement Academy Award and César. Sadly, the same year, her mother would pass away. In 1994, Sophia received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and appeared in the movie Pret-a-Porter. In it, she and Marcello would reference their famous striptease moment from Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. It would be their last movie together, as Marcello passed away 2 years later. In 1996, she appeared in the romantic comedy Grumpier Old Man, which was a box office hit. Sophia continued to make sporadic film appearances, notably in Between Strangers, directed by her son Eduardo, and in the film 9. Sadly, in January 2007, Carlo passed away at the age of 94. ending one of the greatest love stories of the entertainment world. In 2010, she took on the role of her mother again in the TV miniseries My House is Full of Mirrors. Eduardo would direct her again in the short film La Voce Umana in 2014 and in her first Netflix film, The Life Ahead, for which she received widespread critical acclaim, winning several awards, including her 7th Di Donatello Award for Best Actress, more than anybody else. So, now that we know all of this, what exactly makes Sophia Loren iconic? Why is she remembered after all these years? Sophia Loren is recognized as one of the best actresses ever and one of cinema's biggest stars. In 1999, the American Film Institute ranked her as the 21st greatest female screen legend. With the passing of Sidney Poitier in January 2022, Sophia remained the only actor on the list to be alive. Furthermore, she's quite possibly the last A-lister of the golden age of Hollywood. A few others remain, but none truly reached the level of fame that Sophia had. Although in most English-language films, she was often chic and beautiful, it was in Italian movies that one could see the real talent behind the beauty. These roles of earthy women truly showcased her range and acting ability at the expense of glamour. As Sunday Express mentioned, quote-unquote, her acting is so good one forgets she is beautiful. Sophia has had several memorable film roles or iconic scenes, such as her walk down the street in The Gold of Naples, her striptease scene in Yesterday, Today and Tomorrow, and many others. But the role that truly put her on the map and showed the world she was not just a pretty face was that of Cesira in Two Women. She became the first actor to win an Oscar for a non-English language performance, and just about any other word that was around at the time. Her acting is so natural in it and in her other movies that it's easy to see why it stood the test of time. She is proud to be Italian and specifically from Napoli, and that can be seen in her greatest performances, in which she played local women. De Sica even dubbed her, quote-unquote, the essential Italian woman. Thanks to these roles, people were able to see the actress behind the beauty, because Sophia Loren is considered to be one of the most beautiful women ever. Despite her early detractors, even her husband suggested she'd get the nose job, Sophia became known for natural beauty. She wasn't considered a traditional beauty in the beginning, only for her to later define beauty. Sophia Loren also became the first celebrity to launch her own perfume. But speaking of beauty, Sophia has had iconic feuds with two other gorgeous women, Gina Lollobrigida and Jane Mansfield. It is not clear how the feud between Sophia and Gina started, but it seems that as early as 1954 at the Berlin Film Festival, Gina refused to take a photo with Sophia, only agreeing after Yvonne De Carlo stepped in between them. Even on her 90th birthday in 2017, Gina threw shade at Sophia and Carlo, saying, quote-unquote, "I succeeded only thanks to myself, without any producer supporting me," in claiming the whole feud was a PR stunt from Sophia's team. During the 50s, when the media would obsessively compare the breast sizes of stars, Sophia seems to have admitted to being bustier than Gina. And that's pretty much all I could find regarding Sophia making any comments about Gina. It seems more likely that the feud was started by the press in the 50s, who compared the two Italian actresses over anything they could find, which would eventually lead to real-life animosity. That seems to be coming mostly from Gina than from Sophia. But even more iconic was Sophia's photo with Jane Mansfield. During a Welcome to Hollywood party thrown for Sophia, Jane arrived last in a very revealing outfit, and then an iconic photo was taken. It became internationally famous, and even the young generation today knows it. In 2015, Sophia declared, quote-unquote, "All of cinema was there. It was incredible. And then comes in Jane Mansfield, the last one to come. For me, that was when it got amazing. She came right for my table. She knew everyone was watching. She sat down, and now she was barely... Listen, look at the picture. Where are my eyes? I'm staring at her nipples because I'm afraid they are about to come into my plate. In my face, you can see the fear. I'm so frightened that everything in her dress is going to blow, boom, and spill all over the table. Of course, the love story between Sophia and Carlo is iconic as one of the longest-lasting entertainment marriages because of the difficulties they experienced and because they loved each other so. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, click the like button. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Bye!